All right. So if you can see the episode title, you probably know that today we are going to be talking about marketing in our theoretical marketing department. So we have an awesome caller question that I think is very relatable. We all struggle with marketing at one point or another, or perpetually. So we will definitely get to that. But first, I would love to introduce our lovely guest today. All right. So Ronii is a business strategist and marketing expert who helps business owners break free of one-size-fits-all strategies and tactics. She believes that marketing is a science and business isn't that hard. We make it hard. That's why she teaches CEOs how to create business management systems and strategic marketing plans that are simple to implement and don't suck the life out of you. We all need a Ronii in our business. So Ronii, I would love for you to give us a little bit of background, how you work with your clients, how you got into business, all the things.
Yeah, sure. So I've been actually on my own now for about 15 years. Kind of my backstory is I was working for a marketing research agency. And so my background is in research, which is why I think marketing is a science. And in 2008, when the recession hit, the owners came to me and said, we see what's coming down the pipeline. Fortune 500s are drying up their budgets for research. What do we do here? You're the MBA. And I was like, well, we have rent as our biggest expense. We can't do anything about that. And then people. And so they had decided to let go of two people, and I was not one of them. But in the midst of those conversations, I said, I have this idea for a company, and I pitched it, and they were like, that's actually a really great idea. We'll be your client. We'll be your first client. And they're still my client today. I work with them still every day. So that's kind of how I got started. And so I have a unique background in marketing research, which most people think is really boring, but is so important to driving your marketing strategy and really getting to the customer you want to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's half the battle is, figuring out what's going to hit and spending your time there instead of just talking about what you want to talk about. But that's a super interesting approach. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm a big believer in that while you are your own customer a lot of times, you just need to know some things about them because that's how you do content that resonates with them. And so the only way you know that is if you ask them. So I actually...
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way you know is you got to ask them. And so I work with my clients even today. I work on a lot of different things, but when I approach a strategic marketing plan with any of my clients, I really do start with, okay, who are we talking to? Like, how does your brand resonate? Where do you stand in the market? Who are these people? Who are you trying to actually sell your services to? And I think people get really caught up. This is always the one question when I walk into my clients. And one of my first questions is always, who's your target audience? And I love it when they always say, everybody, because they're so excited and I can enjoy the enthusiasm, but I can't help you with everybody. And so I think particularly as small business owners, we get caught in I can serve everybody. My work can serve everybody and I can help everybody. So they don't want to hone into a specific niche because they think that that's locking them into just that person. When in actuality, you're just honing into your niche for your messaging, not actually who you can serve. So I think people get really caught up in, well, I don't want a niche because I can help everybody, which is great. But your messaging needs to niche into something, like your marketing needs to niche so that then people kind of get what you do. And that's the thing is if you're trying to talk to everybody, you're talking to nobody because nothing resonates with anybody. You're not hitting anybody's specific pain points because it's just too generalized and nobody wants to hear any of that because they're like, I'm unique. I'm not the same as everybody else. So that's why I think marketing, the research side of it's so important then to kind of move forward with the plan on that. So I still start with research on, who your customers are, where you stand in the market, what your competitors are doing. And that dictates everything else I do in those plans.
Yeah. Niches are such an interesting thing. I feel like, that's something that gets told to everybody, when you first start a business, a lot of us are Googling and, of course, like, how do I even start developing a strategy around marketing and getting my name out there and getting it in front of the right eyes. But, my clients are typically service-based. And yeah, I mean, I even got my start as a virtual assistant, and who doesn't need extra hands in the giant task list that we all have, you know?
Yeah.
I spent like 5 years doing all the things for everybody. But, you know, in marketing, a super generalized kind of business like that, you know, more of my marketing was about who do I want to work with and how do I talk to them so that they know, you know, that I'm going to be a good partner for them, because they could really hire anybody, you know, to do the same thing.
Yeah, and particularly in the marketing field, there's so many of us, you know, I mean, it's not like we're in a field where there's only a handful of people you can work with. Like it's just so broad that there's so many of us that, you know, I tell people all the time too, like people don't necessarily work with me because I'm the best marketer in the world. I'm really good at what I do, but they work with me because of me. And so that's kind of what I bring to the table. And I think as a marketer, we kind of all are in that same boat of people work with us because of us and kind of who we are and how we work. And that's what resonates with people. And you know, everybody's different, and some people work well with me and some people don't, like just is, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. How exactly are you working with clients right now? What types of clients are you typically serving, and what are their like common struggles that they come to you with?
Yeah, so I actually work with a very wide range of different clients. I'm like you, most of my clients tend to be service-based, but I do have a couple that are product-based. And I have one e-commerce client, which I love to work with, and their e-commerce and like physical product is really easy to market. Like they're my easy client to do, because you have actually has a physical product to do. Like there's like, it's just an easier thing to market than it is intangibles with services. And so I tend to experiment with their stuff a lot, that then I try and then go figure out how to transition that into a more service-based kind of client. So I would say most everybody is a service-based. It's such a wide range. Like I have a Medi Spa, I have, you know, the marketing research company I still work with. Just a wide range. I work with a brand strategist, like a wide range of different clients. And I tend to now work with my clients more on a strategic level. So I really work on how do we create a marketing plan? And then once we kind of have that solid plan together and where it's going and like what the content calendar might look like throughout the year and what are our campaigns and like how does this kind of all lay out in a very loose kind of framework with all of your kind of working documents that are evergreen. Now let's go out and find people that can actually implement those plans. Because my philosophy is my expertise is in the strategy and the knowledge on how to do that over 15 years of experience. Whereas implementing, like you don't want to pay me to write an Instagram post. Like that's a waste of money.
Sure.
So, you know, let's find somebody that can actually do that. Either you have somebody in-house, because that might be somebody in-house, but you at least have then a solid plan to be able to direct those people. And so then I then kind of transition more into like a director of marketing where I create the plan. We kind of find people to implement that plan. And then I check in every 3 to 6 months, just say, hey, let's spend an hour, 90 minutes kind of going through things. What's changed? Do we need to tweak anything? Like, how can we direct this a little bit more? And then my role just becomes more of a direction consultation ongoing until they, you know, go to change things like in a very drastic way.
Yeah, I feel like that's super, super valuable, because looking at analytics and measuring, you know, what the effectiveness of the plan is one thing that a lot of people don't do, which is, you know, kind of counterintuitive. But even understanding those metrics is sometimes really confusing. And it's not, you know, a lot of the people that I work with are focused on more organic efforts, again, because a lot of my people are more high ticket services. So it's the quality of their following and the quality of the content that they're putting out is sometimes, you know, at the forefront of the strategy versus the amount of people that they're, you know, just bringing in and just building this huge audience of people who may not completely be qualified to end up working with, you know, that business. So are there any other metrics that you think are super notable besides like direct money in the pocket conversions? I'm thinking about brand awareness, attraction marketing, thought leadership, all of that good stuff.
When I build out a KPI dashboard, there are a couple of different things that I look at. I definitely look at, all of your traditional kind of, traffic, those, who else coming to the site, like where are people coming from? How are they kind of moving through the site? Those kinds of things. I tend to look at conversions a lot, but I look at conversions as very individual steps within the funnel. So each conversion is a different conversion within the funnel itself. And I tend to, with my clients, depending on the client, look at like engagement rates as well, as opposed to strict vanity numbers. Like, sure, I look at reach and impressions and all of that stuff, just because sometimes you have to play the volume game depending on your client. Kind of like your clients are quality over quantity. My e-commerce client is quantity over quality sometimes. Yes, they offer a good product, but it's a product, right? And so depending on the client and the brand, I kind of look at things a little bit different, but I still always look at kind of engagement numbers because, one thing I tell like my spa here, they're always looking at their numbers and they're like, well, we only had 10 people click on our profile on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a 25% conversion. So like that makes a different, like that's a different conversation. So things are converting really well. It's just, you're not playing the quantity game. So
right.
Those kinds of things are the things I tend to look at. Conversion's my biggest kind of metric to follow. I also look quite a bit when I'm looking at website analytics. I tend to look at where traffic is coming from. So, looking at the source kind of, are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from Instagram? Are they coming from Google? And most of the time I can see, Google is always normally your number one traffic driver. And then generally it's kind of social media after that. But I even have one client that we have a local visitors bureau here that I'd say 10% of their traffic comes from a backlink on their site. And I'm,
wow. Yeah.
We need to keep in good graces with the visitors bureau here because they're driving a ton of traffic to us, So, so I like to see where things are coming from because then you can kind of figure out where do my relationships now need to start? Marketing is a relationship with people. So if you know where people are coming from and kind of how they flow and their journey through your funnel, your brand, your services, how they work with you, you can kind of cater to them, like how you need to talk to them at each level. And then kind of get to them where they are. And so, looking at where those people come from is a really like good way to then, like you said earlier, like everybody wants to do all the things. And particularly in the social media realm, this is something I think that's a common problem with all, particularly, entrepreneurs that are like you and me, and, we might be just one person doing all our things, or, we might have a virtual assistant, but a small team at least. And so we get shiny objects syndrome, and like we see everybody's got a course, and everybody's like, you have to do this. And you get sucked into going, okay, well, I have to do reels, and now I have to get on TikTok, and I have to do all the things. Whereas, so when I look at analytics and I look where people are coming from, then I'm like, okay, then now like 65% of your people are coming from, say, Google. Why are we not doing at least Google ads? Like, let's put our money in SEO and Google ads because that's where they're coming from anyway. If 40% are coming from Facebook, I'm like, why are we even doing TikTok if people are coming from Facebook? Like, you can get rid of all of the other things that you should be doing when you don't actually need to, because that's not where your people are coming from. So that's why I like to really look at where your people coming from. Where's their journey at and how they work with you.
I love that approach. Yeah. Yep. Even though TikToks are kind of fun for some people, not for me. I find them really cringy. Yeah. I can't get into it, but some people love it. And, I love the experimentation, but, and, you got to try different things in order to even get the metrics, right? So
yeah.
I always like to leave room to have a little bit of fun and experiment.
Yeah.
But
I've had these conversations lately, particularly on TikTok, because that's kind of the hot thing right now. Everybody's like, should I do TikTok? And I'm like, there are some really great business cases out there. And if you enjoy it and it fits with your brand, great. But personally, I don't need another vice. I already spend too much time on Instagram. I don't need another vice to really suck me into 2 more hours that I don't have.
I know. Well, yeah, I mean, we all get the shiny object syndrome. The trends never stop. It's a hamster wheel that, we're all kind of running on. So I think this would be a great time to play our caller question and then weigh in on it. Cause we definitely touch on that in this caller question. Here we go.
Hey, Alina, Whitney here, calling in to ask a question about marketing. I'm a dietitian and nutrition consultant, and I have a very small team who helps me run the day-to-day of the business while I meet with clients and do the high-level front-facing work. One thing we haven't gotten into a groove with yet is marketing, specifically online and on social media. It feels like as soon as we get the hang of one thing, a new trend or feature comes out and we have to pivot once again. At this point, we're getting burned out and aren't even sure what to talk about anymore to reach our target audience, let alone pick a format to share this information in. Any tips would be greatly appreciated.
All right. I think we've all been there.
Common problem.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to figure out, what's working and what's not, and then deciding how you want to do it, what you want to share, it is a hamster wheel. What are your first impressions with this caller?
I think my first question would be, who is the target audience? So she sounds like they do know who it is. So that would be my first question is, who is this person? And then I would be, my next question would be like, where are their eyeballs? Like, where are they at each day? And so content creation, I think when people talk about marketing, they get overwhelmed with it. Distribution is overwhelming. Don't get me wrong. Content creation, though, is really the crux of the problem because people think that they have to be creating new content all the time rather than just repurposing things. I went through my Instagram this morning and just copied and pasted a bunch of content over that. I'm like, okay, well, now I have a year's worth of content I could repurpose on the email. So I think a lot of people really get caught up in the content creation piece, which then kind of bleeds into distribution as well. So I think from a distribution perspective, I would want to know, where are those people at? Like, what are their top 3 places? Where are they coming from?
I feel like almost the platform isn't even as important as just making content that is more intentional. And the way that you can kind of tell that, and this is what I teach in my course and what I do for my clients who I do content creation for, is looking at those SEO keywords and how are people getting to your site? What kind of things are they searching for in order to find answers to questions that they have that you could provide for them? And then you're just answering the question, right? So, I'm a lover of repurposing. And that's kind of the basis of my whole content creation system and what I teach inside my course. So, I love that, but, that's only half the battle, right? If you don't have somewhere to direct them to in order to make the conversion or hit the goals that you're looking to hit, that's where I feel like people kind of lose track of what's working and what's not and can't really tell. So what are some, I know that we've touched on the concept of a funnel a couple of times so far, but can you just give us like a really, kind of bird's eye view of what a funnel can look like? Because I've seen some very complex funnels and I've seen some really, really simple ones too.
Yeah. I have too. I've seen it, the kind where you get like 16 emails and they're selling you into a sales page, and then you go through this and then you have another add-on. Oh, get this for a limited time. Like, I've seen all of that. I tend to be in business, and any business, I tend to be the simplicity girl. Like I have one client right now that's actually a really good friend of mine, and she tends to overcomplicate everything. And every time we sit down and like talk about a strategy or a funnel or anything like that, and she'll a mile a minute for a half hour telling me all of the things. And then I go, that's really pretty, but it's a lot. Like we just don't need that much.
Maintaining that is just right.
It's too much. So, I think that a good funnel is really kind of looking at your customer journey. How are they going to learn about you? That's kind of the cold traffic piece of it. How are you going to get cold traffic? Hence content creation, distribution, marketing distribution, those kinds of things. You kind of pick your funnels, you pick your platforms where you want to be for distribution and get kind of cold traffic, just get them into your world. And you get them into your world, by engaging and then, looking at driving them to a free opt-in. If you're a service-based business, this tends to be a traditional funnel. Like get them into a free opt-in that now gets onto your email list. And really then you sell from the email list, not necessarily, from distribution channels. So you kind of like look at your distribution channels as your cold traffic to get just people into your world, to get new people in. And then your email list is your warm leads. That then you can start to sell things to from there. And then from there, it's just nurturing that list and making that a relationship as opposed to just I'm selling you stuff all the time. And then nurturing that and, making it very simple. And then when you do have something to sell, you do need your own sales page. Like you got to have a way to sell those things. So, you sell from your email list to a sales page, with really great copy, and then you can convert from there. And then you have to service your clients and keep them coming back. So, something very simple like that tends to be how I like to do things. I also am not a fan of those sales pages that are like 400 miles long and you're like, scroll. That drives me crazy. I hate those things.
I know. I'm usually getting to the sales page too with specific questions. And I'm stuck going down the rabbit hole with these people trying to find the answer. Like, how much does this cost? Or what's the next step you want me to take?
Why do I have to scroll at like 400 miles to even get to the price of this thing? Like you already sold me on the message to get me here. Just show me the price. I do that too.
I know.
I get so aggravated with those things. But I do get a lot of clients when they have things like that. They'll run, say, Facebook ads, which is great. I'm a big fan of Facebook ads. And then, a week later, they'll come back to me and be like, the Facebook ads aren't working. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. We need to talk about this, right? Because I think people think the Facebook ads job is to actually sell the product when the Facebook ads job is to get them to the sales page. So let's look at, okay, my conversion rate on my Facebook ad might be, let's say 5%. I'm just making up numbers, right? That's a pretty good conversion rate on a Facebook ad to click over to a link. If you're not selling, then you have a copy problem on your sales page that's not converting. The ad's doing its job. Your sales page isn't. So I like to look at individual conversions on each specific platform because they're different. And having somebody think that your Facebook ad is what has to sell the product is actually not what you're doing at all. And so they'll come all the time. I have to explain this. I'm like, they'll come to me and like, my Facebook ad isn't working. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I mean, my conversion rate's like 5% on it. That's good. Let's talk about your website. Now we have a problem with conversion on the website because in our brains, we associate that with the actual sale when it's just a step in the process, a step in the funnel of that. That's why I like to look at those kinds of things.
Yeah, those puzzle pieces really have to work together. And, I always like to kind of work backwards. I, again, usually focus on more organic kind of strategies, but either way, the end goal, if your sales page is 18 miles long, someone like me isn't going to love that, but who knows? But chances are is that they're going to get a taste of that in some other step of the funnel, like leading up to it. So you're not going to have to answer every single question, on the sales page or repeat yourself, repeat the first part of the funnel, the wider, more vague stuff.
Yeah. Or even try and answer all of those questions in either a Facebook ad or a post or however you're driving that traffic. Like I get that too, where they're like, oh, I want to do an ad and I need it to do this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, I can't handle this. I have decision fatigue already because you want me to do 15 things and I can only do one at a time. you kind of have to hone in on okay, what's the one thing you want them to do here?
Right, right. And yeah, I feel like outlining steps, like super clear steps is like a key to getting people to move through instead of just stopping in the middle of your, little funnel and eventually getting money into your pocket, which is the goal. But
I mean, make it as easy for them to give you money as possible.
Right, right.
You know?
But, there are ways to make that feel really good too and have it kind of align. Because the thing that I hate the most is when people give up on marketing and trying out new things and having fun with it, because it is sometimes really frustrating to find that loose screw, or to, give into that shiny object syndrome and try every single thing that comes out. Because if you're doing that, then you're never going to stick with one thing long enough to see if it works.
Yeah. I don't know if you find this too, but I find this with a lot of my clients. They get really bored with it. So like they'll want to do a campaign of something specific, and after a week, they're bored of hearing about it because they hear it so much that they're like, it's not working. And really, marketing is the long-term game. And so they get bored with it easily. So they give up very easily before it even has traction. So like, customers and clients and people, audience needs to see things 20 times before they actually remember them. So if you think about 20 different touch points, that message for you is going to get boring, but they haven't even seen it yet. So I think a lot of people like give up because they're bored with it already. They're like, I'm tired of hearing myself talk about this.
I know. Yep. I get that all the time. Yeah. And I mean, that's why I really like the idea of repurposing. The way that I do this for my clients and what I teach is that, really, if you can put yourself in the shoes of someone else enough, because that's very hard when you're the expert, right? You know all the things. Yeah. So you're talking to people who don't. And that's why, you need to maybe explain things in a little bit of a different way. But what I love doing is creating one piece of like longer form content, finding those questions, answering the questions, and then breaking them up for the smaller pieces like Instagram posts, like Facebook posts, shorter emails and little things like smaller touch points, because that's what you need, right? Is like a volume of content, but doing something like a blog post or a podcast or anything like that and putting it on your website gives you a direct line to your website. You can end every single post with, to learn more about this topic or, to see my other tips or all this stuff, head on over to the website. And that's how you get them from one place to the next place. And the website is really where you want them to be, probably, to take the next step, because that's where you can really just be like, here's everything. Here's exactly, at the end of the blog post, here's exactly how to book a call with me, download my resource that's going to help you even more, whatever the next step in the funnel is. So you're kind of hitting two birds with one stone, right? You're making a longer form piece of content that could then be broken up. So you're only doing the work once. And like our caller, if you have a smaller team, that's something super easy to outsource and could be a rinse and repeat task for them to do, week after week, month after month, or however, whatever kind of system you want to build around creating that. That's kind of how I combat content creation fatigue, because I mean, it can take up an inordinate amount of time in your schedule, So we can time block all we want, but I feel like as the owner of the business, especially with our caller today, she's probably more valuable in front of clients than screwing around on Canva or Photoshop,
right? Exactly.
Or doing it's like so. In order to keep that machine kind of running and not dropping off the face of the earth, I feel like a system is something really good to have in place. And answering, even thinking about what questions do people ask you all the time? Or, is there a new trend or something in your industry specifically that you want to weigh in on as the expert? And some of those kind of topics I feel like deserve a bigger space than just an Instagram post caption or one email that's going to get shoved to the bottom of someone's inbox. And then of course, in a year or two, some of that stuff could be repurposed again because you might have gained a larger following who wasn't around the first time you posted it. So, yeah, I mean, that's really the foundation of my whole content creation thing. And also it eliminates the need to constantly be jumping around for, throughout all the new trends. Like you're going to get the end goal is the same, get them over to the website. So whichever way you want to clip those longer form pieces down, the end goal is still going to be the same. So if you want to try out doing a reel versus a static Instagram post for one, try it out and see if it's different, but you'll have metrics to compare, compare which path your audience likes to take to get to your most valuable spot where you want them. Right.
Yeah. Within my tech career in 2017, I got lured back to a software startup to be their director of marketing. And, at the time it was one of those, they came to me and they had pitched the whole idea. And I'm like, this sounds fun. I've never worked for software. And so they lured me back to like a full-time job. And, which I'm a terrible employee, by the way. Like after being somebody that works for yourself, I'm the worst employee ever. But
I can't imagine going back to an office.
Yeah. I mean, it was a traditional 9 to 5, but it was a startup. So it was fun. But our marketing strategy, my marketing strategy there was exactly that. We did long form blog content and really worked on the SEO of that and then broke it up throughout the week or however long we were promoting that piece into smaller pieces on all the different channels and platforms, whether that be email or social media or however we did that. And I will say, I did have with that company, I had this super great budget of $7,500 a month for ad spend, which I've never had with any one of my clients. So I was like, I got to experiment a lot with that, which was really cool. So I can kind of take that knowledge down to with a lot of my clients. But, even though I had that huge budget for ads, I still found that our best customers came from a long form blog post that we converted into an infographic that they downloaded and got on our email list. And then we sold from our email list every single time. I could convert that at almost 50%, whereas the ads might have converted at 1 or 2%. It was the same every time. So I can really say, even from an analytics perspective, that kind of funnel, that kind of strategy for content creation is the best way to go, because I saw it happen even, with a big budget to kind of go up against it.
Right. Right. And, I feel like that's really the key to longevity. And every single time you post a blog post, it's going to help your website get higher ranked on Google. So that even provides a lot of directions where people can come in and get to your website. It's not just, beneficial for the social media strategy. It's beneficial for the whole thing. Someone could randomly find it picking through Google. Yeah. And, that way you have links to share too. Like you were saying before, those backlinks are incredibly beneficial for SEO. Someone could stumble upon exactly what they're looking for, a thorough answer to a question. And there you go. But, and also the whole piece where you're saving tons of time while creating it. I mean, it's a win-win for everyone. And that's really surprising to me and interesting that, even against a huge ad budget like that, it's still the thing that works for kind of everybody. I mean, like you, I've helped all kinds of different businesses with their content strategy. And, I, again, work with mostly organic tactics after Facebook ads went off the rails after the election. I was like, I'm never doing this again. So I don't really do ads anymore because that's just too much for me. But very interesting to know that kind of tiny, extremely simple funnel stood the test of time too. I don't feel like anything is going to replace that in the near future. I mean, I've been hearing about, social media to blog posts, opt-in for a freebie, a couple automated emails back to the blog post. That kind of very simple funnel and repurposing of information just works. Yeah. It just works.
We found, so they were a software company in the vacation rental space. And so, so we had very specific audience and very specific topics, and every blog post, kind of how we started. And I teach this actually in the little course I have called Stalker. A lot of people get caught up in I don't know what to write about. And so I talk a lot about like, go onto Facebook groups and like find what questions people are asking in those groups. Now you can have like, that's content for you to write about. And so we would go into different Facebook groups that were vacation rental owners, you know, and they were always asking questions of each other about like how to run their business. And we would pile all those questions together. And every week we find a different topic, and each month might be a theme, something like that. And we posted every week. We did not have a single opt-in people. We did every single blog post we turned into an infographic or ebook of some sort. So, you know, if they, you know, read or got to that blog post, they could basically download that blog post in exchange for an email. And so every single one we did that with, of some sort of downloadable with specific to that blog post. And then kind of once I figured out those were working better than my ads, I did kind of move some of that budget over to promote the, once I had analytics on each blog post on which ones were doing the best and driving the best SEO, then I would take the ones that did best and drive some ad money behind it to make it even better. And I mean, at that point, then it just became it just steamrolled. And I you set it and forget it, you know, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really great learning experience. Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, who gets the opportunity to play with that kind of money? I would love that.
No kidding.
Although it's kind of nerve-wracking.
No, wow.
It's
one of the, you know, I loved having that budget, but then also too, it was always kind of like, I also then did have to answer to the owner of the company, what was I doing with that budget every month, you know, but it was really nice to experiment with that. And it's definitely, I learned a lot of things about like running ads with that. You know, I do get a lot of people, while you don't, I mean, I know the whole debacle with Facebook ads, it is like a landmine out there for sure, but they do work. And so the one thing that I get people to, specifically with ads, they get caught up in, you know, a lot of times they'll be like, I have a small budget, where should I put them? That's normally my big question. And I am a huge Google ad believer. And so that's generally my first place I would stick ad money. And the reason for that is when somebody goes to Google, they're going to solve a problem. Like they go and they put in a search to solve something, right? So it's a warmer lead. If your product or service or keyword solves that problem, they're going to land on you. Like they are specifically looking for a solution. Whereas when you do ads on social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, or whatever it is, that's what we call interruption marketing. So you have to interrupt their scroll. They're not specifically looking for you. So it's a totally different message. Like you have to have something strong enough to interrupt what they're doing to actually get them to click through. So that's why those are more expensive than, say, a Google ad. It's because it's a much colder lead. It's a much harder conversion to run. So I tell most people, if you have a small ad budget of, say, only $100, I would put it in Google ads before I would put it in social media ads.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know? Because honestly, you know, the point of doing social media marketing too, in my opinion, and usually the conversion that I want is for them to click the link and get over to my website so they can do stuff. So if that's the end goal anyways, and you have a limited budget and you want to invest in ads and you think that that's right for you, then yeah, Google is the way to go. Because, you know, again, exactly what you said. I firmly believe that, you know, people are Googling to find a problem, and then, you know, who knows who's going to scroll across that Instagram post or Facebook post and actually pay attention. I mean, the rate at which people scroll these days is like, it makes me want to throw up.
I mean, I do it. I do it too. I do it. You know, I'm like speed scrolling. I'm like, I mean, I don't even know what I'm looking at half the time. I know. Yeah, me either. I'm like, who is this? Wait, let me go back. What's happening? And yeah, I'm exactly the same way. So you can imagine like everybody's that way. Like we have ADD when it comes to social media anymore. Like we can't concentrate on anything. It's so much.
I know. So trying to come up with the perfect creative match with the perfect captions and the perfect wording to get the click on the button. That's a lot of time, and that's going to cost a lot of money and testing. So I think a lot of money. Yeah. So I think definitely the best investment if, you're interested in trying out ads or,
Yep.
budgeting for, some outside leads to come in, doing a Google ad is the way to go. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've changed their platform now that it's a little bit more user friendly. So you don't necessarily, like, don't get me wrong, finding somebody that is an expert in Google Ads is a great thing to do. But, if you have a small budget, their platform, they've kind of made it a little bit more user friendly. I'm not saying it's easy by any means, but it's a little more user friendly that you could actually go in and kind of follow a wizard and kind of do it yourself, and still, be able to get a little bang for your buck on it. So
yeah, I mean, start small and try it out.
Yeah,
might as
exactly.
well. Might as well if you're looking for some new eyes. And
for cold traffic, works great.
Yeah, I agree. Well, awesome. Okay, so any final thoughts for our caller here? I mean, I know she has a small team. I think long form content and then having your team repurpose that for your social stuff will get you over that hump of what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah. And
how do we consistently post and know what to post? I love to start, looking up exactly what are your ideal clients searching for. That way you can kind of just answer the question. There's a website called Answer the Public that I use all the time. So if there's something in my business that I want to promote or I want to talk about leading up to a launch, or if I need to fill spots for one thing or the other, I'm going to look up that topic on Answer the Public, maybe some Pinterest searches and seeing what kind of auto populates in the search bar to kind of get a concept and a question that's related to what I'm promoting or what I'm wanting to market or talk about. And then just writing about it, refining that, adding in some keywords if you want to even go that far, and then pop it up on your blog, and then hand it off. That's all you need to be doing. And kind of building a rinse and repeat system. So if you or anyone else needs help with doing that, I teach exactly how to do that, how to do the research, how to do the blog posts, how to do the whole thing from start to finish. So I will definitely be putting a link to that and some more resources around content creation and consistency in the show notes. So yeah, that's there for you. And then I love Ronii's marketing calculator. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that, and I will put that link as well in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually created this marketing calculator for myself more than anything else. I had talked earlier, I have a few clients that do Facebook ads, and I kind of built it for myself to justify my work almost, because they would come to me and my Facebook ad's not working. And we had to have that conversation of where's the conversion really happening? So I created this calculator as almost kind of a way for me to justify my ads are working. And so kind of when you go in, you plug in a few key data points, what's your traffic, what's your price point, what's your goal, just 5 or 6 pieces of data. And some of them you might not know yet. Let's say, if you're not running ads, you might not know those metrics yet, but you can throw in what might be your average. An average conversion rate's 2 to 3%. Your average cost per click's $1.25. Those kinds of things are easy to throw in. And then what it'll do is it'll calculate your conversion rates on your ads, your conversion rate on your site. And it'll give you then at the bottom, if you wanted to make this goal of say $10,000 a month from your site, you need to spend X on ads to make that, and then it gives you your net profit from there. And so while yes, you can use it to actually calculate what you should spend on marketing, I tend to use it more for where are my conversions dropping off. So I can then look at, okay, if I'm looking at a post or an ad, and the conversion rate there is say 5%, but my conversion rate on my website is only 0.5%. Okay, now I can easily see in that calculator, my problem is conversion on the site. So I need to fix that. And then sometimes it's vice versa. You're not driving enough traffic from the ad. And so now you know exactly which piece of that funnel you can fix to make the conversion better. And so that then, once you fix your conversion, makes your ad budget less, right? Instead of having to spend $1,000 on ads, now you only have to spend $500 on ads because you fixed the conversion problem. And so I tend to use it more for conversion rates, even than how much should we spend. So yeah, I built it. it's like a super easy, like little calculator to do, but it's so handy for people to be able to look at it and go, oh, I see now my problem. My problem is copy on this. And it could be copy on your site because your button's the wrong color. I mean, like it could be super easy like that, and you just never know. But you don't know that unless you're looking at your numbers and can actually see that. And so that's what that little calculator does. And not unfortunately, but I built it for myself to like use for myself. And I'm like, this is really useful. Let me just give it to people, and people love it.
I love that because that's something, looking at metrics and figuring out like where exactly the screw is loose and people are dropping off is one thing that's hard to Google how to do, and it's hard to really tell like which piece isn't doing it. So I feel like that's super valuable, especially if you're looking into investing into ads. But even if not, it's like, I feel like that's a good container for you to be able to look at every single metric throughout the whole funnel and pick that piece out and work towards improving, each piece once a month or something and just see like, okay, I've even been in clients like email marketing systems and, within a sales funnel, everyone's unsubscribing on this one email. And then we're reading it and we're like, oh, this one, we were in a bad mood when we wrote this email because it doesn't make them excited to, stick around for the rest of them or do the thing we want them to, which is go to the website and buy the thing. Right. So I feel like, picking out that one piece of the funnel is going to be, what makes your funnel even successful or not. And it's all trial and error. So 100%. Play with it, experiment. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a spreadsheet girl. Like if you can give me a spreadsheet with a couple of formulas, I'm a happy little lark, just like plugging in numbers and going, okay, this is what you need to do now. I mean, and it's one of those I look at it and go, it's a fact. Like you can't, like it's a number. I'm not making it up. We can't, it's no different. Like I can't tell you any different than what this number is telling me. That's why it's been useful for a lot of people. And I just am like, you know what? I'm just going to give this away for people. Granted, you got to give me your email for that. And sometimes I'll email people.
Sure.
But
Sure. No, I love it.
Works.
Right. Well, that's a perfect example for this. I mean, everyone should go download this marketing calculator, play with it, have some fun. And then watch how the funnel unfolds as a shining example.
Right. Well, trust me, it's going to be super simple. You might get one email that says, hey,
well, good.
Email. So
I love simple. Right.
Simple.
I love
That's
simple. I love simple. Nice. Very cool. Well, it was so, thank you so much for coming on and chatting through this with me. I feel like you have a really, you have an awesome perspective on marketing. And I feel like it's one of those things we all have to do. But, finding what works is the hard part and sticking with it is the other hard part. So I'm definitely going to put your calculator in the show notes. I'll go ahead. I have a freebie that's just some fun ideas. If you are having one of those days where you're like, I need to get something out, it'll give you a prompt and you just go ahead and do it. But if you want to go ahead and systematize a little bit more, I do have my course where I teach people how to create that system and everything that goes into it and make it work for you. And then I also have a done for you service called the Content Machine where I do content creation. So I'll put all of those links in the show notes. Ronnie, I would love if you could tell everyone where to find you if they want to stay in touch and follow you.
Yeah, sure. So my website is kind of like my hub for everything, like we talked about earlier. So it's just RoniiBartles.com.
Yep.
And you can get my marketing calculator there. You can, find out ways to work with me. And then I tend to hang out on Instagram the most. That's kind of where I tend to do most of my posting and like engagement with people. So if you just want to hang out and chat, that's normally where you can find me, is over on Instagram at I am Ronii.
Sounds good. And of course, my website is alinascarsella.com, and I hang out on Instagram all the time too. I'm kind of a social media monogamist. I don't really dabble in the other one. I found what works and that's my spot, So, I am at alina.scarsella, and we will meet again next week.